The Assassin Caterpillar. Picture leaning a bare forearm against a tree in southern Brazil, right onto a patch of what looks like green moss with a little fuzz to it. You feel a mild sting, brush it off, and forget about it. That's the mistake, because it always starts the same way. Something small, something almost pretty, and a hand that reaches out before the brain catches up. This is the Assassin Caterpillar, and those weren't moss fibers. They were hollow spines packed with venom, and they snap the second your skin presses down. One spine on its own feels like brushing a nettle. Drag a whole forearm across a cluster though, and you've just taken hundreds of doses at once. And here's the part that turns a sting into a funeral. The venom shreds your blood's ability to clot. Over the next day, your gums start bleeding, bruises bloom out of nowhere, and in the worst cases, you're hemorrhaging deep inside your own body. Roughly 1 in 40 untreated cases ends in death. The thing looks like the before photo in a moss commercial. A caterpillar, the bug you learned to gently move off the sidewalk as a kid. That's the opening act. The Blue-Ringed Octopus. This one fits in the palm of your hand, and that's exactly the problem, because it's small and pretty enough that people scoop it up for a photo. You probably won't feel the bite. That's not the octopus being merciful. That's the scary part. The blue-ringed octopus lives in tide pools and shallow reefs across the Pacific, and its body carries tetrodotoxin, the same paralyzing poison you find in a pufferfish. Here's how bad that is. 0.5 milligram, an amount that would sit comfortably on the head of a pin, is enough to kill a grown adult. The toxin runs about 1,200 times deadlier than cyanide, and one little octopus carries enough of it to kill more than 20 people. It works by jamming the sodium channels your nerves use to fire, so your diaphragm quits and your breathing stops, sometimes while you're still wide awake and aware of it. Most people assume this thing is some aggressive little attacker. It isn't. Those glowing blue rings are a warning light it only switches on when it feels cornered, and nearly every recorded case comes from a human picking it up. There's still no antivenom. So here's a creature cuter than most gift shop souvenirs and deadlier than everything in a pharmacy combined. It gives you a warning you can't read, a bite you can't feel, and a countdown you can't stop. The Cone Snail. It's the shell you'd stop and pick up on a tropical beach. The glossy one, patterned like somebody hand-painted a little map onto it. Gorgeous. Divers also have a nickname for it, and the nickname is not friendly. This is the geography cone snail. And tucked inside that beautiful shell is a hollow, harpoon-shaped tooth it can fire out on a fleshy tube faster than you can pull your hand back. Divers call it the cigarette snail, the grim joke being that once it stings you, you've got about 1 cigarette's worth of time left before the venom shuts your body down. And that venom isn't one poison. It's a blend of hundreds of separate toxins hitting you at once. A single snail holds enough of them to kill hundreds of people, and without medical care, roughly 70% of human stings turn fatal. What gets me is that this is a snail. It's slow. So instead of speed, it went all in on chemistry so precise that some cone snails can lull a fish into a daze before the harpoon even lands. The rule at the reef is simple. If the cone is alive, the shell is not yours to take. If you're into learning about the animals most people walk right past without ever knowing the danger, I make videos like this all the time, and subscribing really helps. Thanks. The Box Jellyfish. You don't even have to touch this one on purpose. It's almost completely see-through, and it drifts through the same warm, waist-deep water where people wade in to cool off. This one doesn't wait for the hand. It drifts through the water and finds you first. The Australian box jellyfish trails dozens of tentacles, some of them several feet long, and every inch is lined with millions of microscopic harpoons ready to fire. The trouble isn't how much it stings, it's how fast what comes next arrives. A single box jellyfish carries enough venom to kill 60 grown adults. A bad sting can send someone into cardiac arrest in as little as 2 minutes, which is faster than most people could even describe what just hit them. The venom punches holes in your cells and lets potassium pour out until the heart simply stops. And quick public service note, because the common version of the first aid is wrong, peeing on a box jelly sting can actually make it worse by triggering more sting cells to fire. Vinegar is the real move. Scientists will tell you each of those stingers fires at nearly bullet-like acceleration, one of the fastest movements in all of biology. And the fact that a floating blob of jelly comes standard with millions of them feels like a bit much. It's 95% water, it has no brain, and it can still kill you faster than you can get out of the shallow end. The stonefish. This one isn't hiding from you. It's lying right out in the open, looking exactly like the lumpy, crusted-over rock you're about to plant your bare foot on. And here's the twist. The most venomous fish in the entire ocean isn't fast, isn't big, and isn't trying to be found at all. The reef stonefish sits dead still on the seafloor, and its skin mimics algae-covered stones so completely that it basically deletes itself from view. Running down its back are 13 stout spines, each one loaded from its own venom gland. It doesn't chase and it doesn't strike. It just waits for the pressure of a footstep to do the injecting for it. Those spines are stiff enough to punch straight through the sole of a soft shoe, and one solid step drives in a dose that, without antivenom, can absolutely kill you. It's less a fish and more a foot-shaped landmine that happened to grow a face. And there's something almost petty about it. An animal that got so good at hiding its #1 victim is people who never even knew a game was being played. The ocean floor stopped being scenery a long time ago. Down here, the scariest thing isn't what's swimming toward you, it's what's already under your foot. The Zoanthid coral. This one isn't waiting for you on some far-off reef. It's a bright, candy-colored coral sold in pet shops for home saltwater tanks, which means it's sitting in living rooms and offices right now. And the danger isn't out in the ocean. The danger is tank cleaning day. Certain zoanthid corals, the little button-shaped polyps hobbyists love, carry palytoxin, which sits right near the top of the list of the most poisonous substances made by anything alive. The reaching hand doesn't have to be at a reef anymore. Sometimes it's in a living room, over a fish tank holding a toothbrush. Because in real, documented cases, families scrubbing algae off these corals released the toxin into the air and ended up in the hospital. One incident traced back to a mom cleaning a coral with a toothbrush. A dose smaller than a single grain of salt is enough to do damage, and it's sitting in who knows how many ordinary fish tanks. It might be the deadliest thing in the house, and it's shipped with a care guide. Turns out a coral in a tank isn't quiet little decoration. It's a living animal packing a toxin that has put people down from clear across the room. The scariest animal on this whole list might be the one somebody set up next to their couch on purpose. The flower urchin. From a few feet away, it looks like somebody scattered a handful of little flowers across the reef. Soft and pink and harmless, which is exactly the kind of thing a hand drifts down toward. Those are not petals, and they don't just sting you, they grab. The flower urchin is covered in tiny structures called pedicellariae, little jaws shaped like blossoms, and on contact, they clamp onto your skin and keep pumping venom in. It ranges across thousands of miles of the Indo-Pacific, which means the single most venomous sea urchin on the planet is also one of the most common animals on the whole reef, and every flower on it is a loaded jaw. The venom hits your nerves and muscles, and for a diver, the real danger isn't even the pain, it's the paralysis. Because losing control of your body underwater is its own kind of trap. Honestly, it's a bath bomb with a grudge. And there's a lesson these animals keep trying to teach that nobody wants to learn. It's the only bouquet in the world that grabs back. We keep making the same mistake with them. We read beautiful as safe, when beautiful was the warning label the whole time. The Irukandji Jellyfish. You could swim straight through this one and never know it was there, because its whole body is about the width of a fingernail. You might barely feel the sting when it lands. The real horror is scheduled for about half an hour later. This is the Irukandji, a box jelly roughly a centimeter across drifting off northern Australia. And by now, the pattern is obvious. The hand reaches, the body pays. This one just doesn't let you feel the moment it happened. Here's the timeline. The sting hits, and for 20 to 30 minutes, nothing. Then it all arrives at once, what doctors call Irukandji syndrome. Crushing full body pain, vomiting, a heart rate that spikes, and one symptom so consistent that physicians actually write it into the chart, a genuine, overwhelming feeling of impending doom. In rare cases, it keeps climbing hours later into brain hemorrhage and death, and there's no antivenom. Nature really looked at a jellyfish you can't even see and decided the finishing touch should be psychological. The leading theory is that the venom floods you with your own stress hormones, which is a wild thing to have running loose in your bloodstream on what was supposed to be a beach day. It's the only animal that can make your own body warn you that you're about to die, and be right. The Portuguese Man. You've almost certainly seen one. A blue, gas-filled balloon washed up on a beach. The thing lifeguards and parents tell kids not to poke. That floating balloon on top is the harmless part. It's the stuff underneath, the part you can barely see that does the damage. And here's the strange bit. The man-o-war isn't actually a jellyfish, and it isn't even one animal. Despite the name and the jellyfish look, it's a siphonophore, a whole colony of separate organisms living together as a single unit, each one handling a different job. The float rides the surface while the tentacles hang below, and those tentacles routinely stretch 30 feet or more. So picture a float about the size of a water balloon, trailing stingers as long as a school bus, every inch of them ready to fire on the lightest brush. And they keep firing, even after the animal is dead on the sand. Now, in fairness, most man-o-war stings are agonizing rather than lethal, but confirmed human deaths, rare as they are, have happened, which is why it makes this list with the truth attached. There's no brain in there, no central body, just a committee of clones each doing one task. It's not one animal that learned to kill, it's several animals that agreed to. The golden poison frog. It's small enough to sit on your thumbnail, and it's colored like a warning label. A bright, glossy gold you kind of want to lean in and look at. Do not. One frog carries enough poison to kill 10 grown men, and the truly strange part is where that poison comes from. The golden poison frog lives in one narrow stretch of Colombian rainforest, and its skin is coated in batrachotoxin, which forces your nerve channels open and won't let them close until the heart gives out. It doesn't need to bite. The toxin can get in through a small cut or a moist membrane just from contact. One frog holds enough to kill around 10 people, or if you'd rather picture it another way, roughly 20,000 mice, all packed into an animal that weighs less than a paperclip. Now, here's the twist. Most people think these frogs are simply born deadly. They're not. The frog doesn't manufacture a single drop of that toxin itself. It pulls the raw chemistry out of the tiny wild insects it eats and concentrates it in its skin. Raise one in a tank away from that diet, and it grows up basically harmless. And here, finally, is the reaching hand that gets to keep its fingers. Not because the frog forgave you, but because somewhere along the way, it ran out of ammunition. These frogs are endangered now, their sliver of rainforest shrinking year by year. The deadliest frog alive is only deadly because of what it eats, which means the scariest thing on this entire list is a diet. If you made it all the way to the end here, I post new animal deep dives like this every single week. Hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.